You guys want it? Mike, you good, bro? Mike test 1 2. Test 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 test. Mike test 1 2. Mike test 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 test. Yes. 1 2. You need a white? See, I'm still looking out for you, even though you play for the other team now. Yeah. Even though you're on the wrong side.
I'll get everyone wrangled. Everyone's set up. See Clayton there. The wind's not going to be that big of an issue, is it? What's that? Okay. Hopefully it dies down a little bit, pick back up. Hey, I was just about to text you. You can go ahead and start heading this way. Oh my god, Basil Dua showed up. Yeah, he looks like he's here. Okay, bye. Check, check. 1 2 1 2. Everyone can hear me? And through your actual mics. It's Ryan, it's weird to stand at a podium and have everyone's cameras turned away from you, right? That shows how unimportant I am. Yeah, well, I didn't need more of that, but thank you. Yeah, gonna wear him out. Good, how are you? Yeah. I see some scrambling around here. Where's Batee? Oh. Renee's on the phone. Okay. All right, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. Everyone's ready? We'll go ahead and get started with the 60th Mayor of Dallas, Eric Johnson.
Thank you, Tristan. I'm going to ask everyone to keep a good, safe distance so I can take off my mask here. It helps you guys hear a little bit better, I'm told, if I'm able to do that. So, everybody good? All right. Well, good evening. Good to see everybody in sunny South Dallas. The people of Dallas deserve to live in safe communities, Renee Martinez. Unfortunately, we've been going in the wrong direction these last few years, Derek Batty. Violent crime, especially, has risen to unacceptable levels. We finished 2020 with more murders than in any year since 1998. And while it's still early, we're unfortunately on pace for an even worse year in 2021. As of Monday, murders were up 65% over the same time last year. Non-family violence aggravated assaults were essentially flat. But that was after those crimes were up by about 30% last year over 2019. I'm heartened, however, that Chief Eddie Garcia is here and that he's working on strategies to reverse these unfortunate trends. His focus and dedication to fighting crime and to making Dallas the safest large city in the United States is refreshing, and I'm very happy to have him here. As we move forward, we can't make excuses. We just have to get to work. And our police department is crucial to our crime reduction efforts. But I'm going to say something that you've heard me say before. I'm going to say it again here today. Crime reduction is not solely the responsibility of law enforcement. All of us can be and must be a part of the solution. In that spirit, in August of 2019, I created the Mayor's Task Force on Safe Communities. The 4 data-based and community-driven policy recommendations from that group have been partially funded by the City of Dallas through our city budget and by DISD. Today, we are celebrating some progress. Around us here at the intersection of Malcolm X and Marburg, all the way down to the Malcolm X corridor, down to I-30, we've installed 76 new streetlights. You've heard me say before that City Hall needs to get back to the basics. This had been an area that long had high levels of nighttime violence and dim lighting. It's a community that suffered from neglect and underinvestment. But through the Mayor's Task Force on Safe Communities, Renee and Derek, this area is now receiving a much needed basic service. These lights were installed in December and January, and they appear to be working. So far this year, Chief, crime in this targeted area is down 44% from this same time last year. And calls for police service are down 46%. It's still early in the year, but this is an extraordinarily promising start. It's something we can build on. And while this is the first area we're lighting up, it's certainly not going to be the last. We have plans to put up hundreds more lights in other targeted areas, Chief, as Johnny Ramos from our Office of Integrated Public Safety Solutions is here to talk about today. Together, we can pull our communities into the light and ensure that people who traffic in violence don't have a dark place where they can hide in our neighborhoods. Together, we can eliminate these havens for criminals. We're also, I'm pleased to say, weeks away from hiring violence interrupters in this city. Proposals are being evaluated, and I'm counting on the city council. I see Councilman Basil Dewey here today. I'm counting on you, Councilman, to support the violence interrupter program. Frankly, we needed violence interrupters yesterday, but I'm excited to have them at work on our streets by this summer, because we're going to need all the help we can get to combat violence. That means more help from our community. That means we need more help both from our school districts and for our school districts and our nonprofit partners, such as those that are working to help us combat the scourge of domestic violence. And that means, frankly, putting public safety first at City Hall, which, as evidenced by the City Council's foolish 25% cut to the police overtime budget, isn't always the case. These lights are already helping to reduce the demand for police, but we cannot be satisfied, and we can't fall prey to wishful thinking when it comes to violent crime. We've got a long road ahead of us, but we have to keep moving forward. And above all else, we must prioritize the safety of the people of Dallas. I want to say thank you to everyone for being here today. Thank you so much to the members of the task force and Chief Garcia for being here today, and I'm going to turn it over to the Chief right now. Chief, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the support. Thank you for the support for this community, and thank you for the support of the men and women that wear this uniform proudly. This is a great example of how we need to collaborate about reducing crime in our city. Our men and women are working very hard to fight crime and to take the criminal element off our streets. But we can't be everywhere at once. Our efforts are critical, but they can only take us so far. We have to depend on community to play its role as well. Prevention is key to stopping crime. The Mayor's Task Force on Safe Communities recommendations will help make our city safer, and they will also help take the burden off our communities. From blight remediation, remedies, lighting improvements, violence interrupters, social and emotional learning in schools, we must give hope where hope doesn't exist. These initiatives will help us address environmental and social issues that cause crime. And often, we see those issues disproportionately affecting underserved communities. It will pay dividends to invest in these neighborhoods that are hit hardest by violence. This police department is working hard to turn the tide against violence. The people of Dallas deserve a commitment to your safety from this police department and from every governmental agency that can play a role in this fight. Your police department's efforts are overarching, but my mantra to our men and women is that we will weed and seed. See, we will weed the criminal element off the streets, but we will weed the criminal elements as a department, but we will also seed those same streets with positivity and hope. We will work hard at doing both. We will be data driven, while where our officers are needed most, are where these programs are needed most as well. And we're seeing some encouraging early trends, as the mayor alluded to. While we still need to wrap our arms around our murder rate, our overall violent crime is down 11% citywide from last year. I really don't like using percentages, so I'll put it in these terms, because I believe that the amount of our victims and those who are suffering matter most. During the month of February, we had 242 less victims of violent crime than we did in January. And this month, through March 9th, we've had 50 less victims than we did at this time in February. This is a testament to our collaboration, and as we need to hold ourselves accountable, we must also celebrate the positives together. With the implementation of our violent crime reduction strategy the next couple months, we're hopeful to see more positive results, and this very act that we're here today is integral in that program. However, I'm not doing a touchdown dance. My optimism remains cautious. One victim is too many. The number of murders in our city is unacceptable. The racial disparity in our victims is unacceptable. We have a lot of work to do and a lot of work ahead of us, particularly in areas that we've seen increases. We've had too many murders, and we recognize that these summer months are going to be critical. We need to keep the positive momentum going, to keep our officers vigilant and present in our neighborhoods while also keeping our communities engaged and involved. Thank you again, Mayor Johnson, for having me. Thank you for your continued support of this police department and our community safety. Now I turn it over to a pair of community leaders who I've had the privilege of spending time with during my first month on the job, Renee Martinez and Derek Bate.
I just want to echo what the mayor and the chief have said. This is just the beginning. I think we still have a lot of work to do. The interrupters segment of the recommendations is going to get off the ground. I'm working very closely with the school district. The school district is targeting the key areas that we've targeted in our particular report. So we're urging people to stay calm. The statistics are looking a little bit better, but again, as the chief and the mayor said, one murder is too many. And so we as a community have to come together. We have to support our police department. I say this all the time to Spanish media, that we have to be able to report crimes, whether they're the crazy racing in the streets to random shootings. Those in my particular community that are immigrants, that are undocumented, that are still fearful of law enforcement, they've got to step up and come out and report those crimes. So again, that's the message that I want to give, that the community has to have that support with our police department and with our city.
Good afternoon. Honored to be here. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for inviting us out here. Chief Garcia, Chair of our task force, Renee Martinez. It's a great day to see these ideas and thoughts come to fruition, these lights that are going up in South Dallas, the great sunny South Dallas, one of the best areas in our community, in my opinion. I grew up in Oak Cliff, but I spent a lot of time in South Dallas. For us to have these lights going up at this particular juncture is a great thing. And we're going to hold our mayor and our city leaders accountable to make sure that it gets to all the communities. I'm very guilty of reading your reports, Mr. Mayor, and I appreciate seeing those numbers going in the right direction. However, again, we have more communities that we need to continue to focus on, and I'm proud to serve as a member of the Mayor's Task Force. Thank you.
I didn't even know this microphone went up that high. Hey, Johnny, you want to come up here as well? So we'll go ahead and open it up to questions. Johnny is from the Office of Integrated Public Safety Solutions. They manage this program along with the the Transportation Department. Was Gus here as well? You want to get him up there? Yeah. All right. Any questions? Jobin. We can get you some of those, Johnny. Do you have kind of a analysis of what kind of crimes are occurring?
Good afternoon. Currently, we've ordered about 650 lights within the city of Dallas, and we're looking at about, right now we're working on our current second target area right now. Throughout the city, we have several. We're currently working on our second one in the Overton and Illinois area.
Yes. Mayor, you want to take that?
Yeah, no, it's a great question because we've been talking about this for a while now. They're not all moving along at the speed I'd like. I've been pretty adamant about wanting them to come online faster, and we have some task force members here who can talk about them in a little more detail. But one of the big ones is violence interrupters. And for those who don't know what that is, that's a community-based approach to violent crime reduction by finding folks who have credibility within a community who can work with folks in the community to keep crimes from ever happening in the first place, to keep conflicts from escalating and becoming violent in the first place. Blight remediation is one of the concepts that was provided in the report, along with increasing lighting. The theory being that a lot of these crimes occur, and they seem to. And this isn't a hunch. This is what the data that they crunched showed, that crime tends to concentrate in places where there's disproportionate blight and where the lighting is poor. I mean, a lot of crime just happens where criminal elements can hide and move more easily. And then the last part is a part that's being funded because by DISD, because it involves educating our young people on how to deal with conflicts and anger management and other things to keep them from ever becoming violent. And so that there's an educational piece of this that's outside of the city's budget. It's being actually funded by DISD and worked on by DISD. So if anybody wants to speak to these with any more detail, they can, especially the DISD piece. But those are the 4 recommendations from the task force.
I think the critical thing about the social emotional learning with the school district is that they're targeting very similar areas to those in which we're going to be targeting in terms of interrupters. So hopefully the right hand is working with the left hand. We're going to get people out in the streets. We're going to have to do a lot of targeted work, counseling with some of these kids in those same areas, because they represent families that are having domestic problems, and those interrupters are going to be working with those families in a holistic manner to deal with those issues.
We speak about violence interrupters and our trauma. Everyone knows when we have these murders, it creates trauma, whether it's with the family, whether it's with the community. And the piece that DISD is really going to focus on is making sure our students, again, I've been at South Oak Cliff a long time. We've lost several students every year, and it is very traumatic for a parent, a mother, to lose a child. So these programs like BAM and WOW, Becoming a Man, working on womanhood, to implement those at an early stage, middle school age, like the mayor said, we hope to teach them conflict resolution. Stop, pause, and think about your actions. And those are vitally important as well. And DISD has taken a major step. I believe they approved funding for more social emotional learning, but that is specifically dealing with trauma, the trauma that we all know happens when there's gun violence in communities of color and communities anywhere. So I believe that those violent interrupters are going to help connect the community. I believe that the chief and the mayor and all those awesome people downtown are going to make sure that these entities are working together for the betterment of our communities. We have to restore our communities, restore our youth, make sure they have a better mindset. What we say in South Oak Cliff is we have to have a new mindset as it relates to crime. We don't want those type of crimes in our community anywhere in Dallas. And again, the mayor's task force was very focused on making sure we took care of some things that may have gone untaken care of for a long time. And that's what's exciting about seeing new lighting come up in our community, seeing, new infrastructure come up. It's all connected to changing the mindset of our communities here in Southern Dallas. And we thank this task force. Again, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Chief Garcia, for your support. Even though you just got here, we know you're working hard.
I'd also be a little remiss if I didn't mention that one of the things that the task force was excited about and made it a mention in the report was the mayor's summer jobs program that he launched last year, which is Dallas Works. So that was another effort to go, keep young people busy during the summer and make some money and that kind of thing. Jobin. Chief, question is, yeah, go ahead.
So I'll try to keep this simple. We made the comment yesterday regarding his termination. We're not at liberty to discuss anything else about that case. Thank you.
I'm limited in what I can say, just as a matter of law. This is from the standpoint of the city, still a personnel matter, so I can't get into that. Just know that I have a lot of questions, just like the public has a lot of questions, and we are definitely interested in getting to the bottom of what happened. But as far as the actual decision, the personnel decision, I can't go there. So make sure everybody's back far enough so I got my mask off here. We don't know much yet. At least I don't. And that's why I formed this ad hoc committee on general investigating and ethics, modeled largely after the general investigating and ethics committee that we had in the state legislature. The goal there, the point of that committee, is to engage in the type of inquiry that you're asking about. I want to be very clear about something. This is not meant to get involved in the actual specifics of the crimes that Mr. Reiser's been accused of. It's not a criminal inquiry into Mr. Reiser's actions. It's not meant to impede or duplicate or get in touch on in any way the criminal case. But we have a city to run, and we have to exercise as a city council our oversight responsibility over the city manager's office and the city departments that oversee the police department. That's why the city charter gives us the authority to investigate situations involving city affairs. So pursuant to that, I formed a committee, and that committee is going to look into how these decisions were made from the standpoint of city government, city personnel. I'd like to see them get these questions answered as soon as possible. But again, city government is dictated by the city charter and by the council rules of procedure. Under the city charter, once I've formed the committee and I've appointed a chair of it, the charter says and the rules say that the chairperson of the committee, in this case, Kara Mendelson, determines the committee schedule and how often it meets and whatnot. So the timing of the meetings and all that is really up to her. And I don't want to get too far ahead of her, but she knows, and everyone else who doesn't know will know that this is not something I'm at all interested in seeing move at the pace of city government. I want to see this move along, and I want to see these questions get answered, because what this is about is supporting Chief Garcia in this department and supporting our community and making sure that we don't allow anything to undermine the credibility of the police department, because they have an important job to do. And the community needs to know how that job is being done and that it's being overseen properly by the civilians in city government at City Hall at 1500 Marilla. So this is about 1500 Marilla, this inquiry, this investigation.
All right. Any other questions, especially about lighting? Julieta, yeah. We'll wait until the plane goes over. I'll get that for you. Yeah. Yes. All right. Question about mask, and then I think we'll cut it off and move on with our days. But go ahead.
So before I issued the order last week that went into effect today, we consulted with our city attorney, as we always do before we issue an emergency order, to make sure it's in compliance with the emergency orders issued by the governor, the executive orders. So we were advised by our city attorney that an order mandating masks within the city of Dallas writ large, the city as a whole, would not be legal. The advice from our city attorney was that the executive order to come into effect today, which is now in effect, would preclude a local government from actually requiring masks outside of its own buildings. So what my order did was go as far as we were advised the law would allow us to go without running afoul of the law. Now, I can't say I can't give you an opinion on the city of DeSoto or the city of Austin's orders, because I've not read their orders. Specifically, I've read the reporting about their orders, but I don't know what they say, and I don't know what they saw in the law to make them write the orders the way they wrote them, and I have no idea what Ken Paxton is going to do about it. But I know our order is not being threatened by anyone, that I've been told, for legality, and it was advised. I was advised that it went as far as the law would allow us to go. Oh yeah, one more thing, and I think that's important to mention, that we also are taking the step of trying to help our residents navigate this very confusing, admittedly confusing new reality since the governor's order went into effect, of knowing where a mask is required, where a mask isn't, because it's been left up to private businesses to do. So what we have done is we've created a database, and we are encouraging all the businesses in Dallas to voluntarily report to us what their position is on masking, whether they require them or not, so that residents of the city can know before they go what the situation is in order to help people be safe. So we think that'll be helpful for people to know, for example, if their favorite restaurant has decided to change their position on wearing masks, or if they'll continue to require them. So that's what we've done, and hope that it will help.